be determined. So the players are standing by. My co-commentator is Carl Boys. And now, I must tell you, it's an extended race to 10 in the last 64. Single elimination. No safety nets. If you lose, that's it. Morning, Carl.
Good morning, Phil. This very much feels like round 2 in my eyes. I know it's the last 64, but I feel like we have all this double elimination, whittling down from 256 players to this final 64, and now it's single elim, so the players that are left will feel very much like they're in the main event now. That's what it always feels like when you play double elimination format. And what a match we have to kick things off here on day 4. Big fan of Ruiz, of course. He's our world #1. He's been so since he got to the US Open final, Phil, the year he won. So he's held the #1 spot for quite some time, but he will know that he's got to play well in this match. Chang, phenomenal talent as well.
Yes, not as well known as his opponent, but Chang, 42 years of age, from Chinese Taipei. He won the World Cup of Pool, partnering Copen Yi in 2015, and he's a double China Open champion. That distinctive style where he doesn't get down over the cue, but boy, it works.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fantastic opening pot to even get the cue ball back somewhere near the pink 4. But this is not ideal. And on a bigger pocket table, I've watched enough of Chang, he'd be swiping this into the top corner. Not on these, doesn't fancy it just yet. Obviously, it's the first rack as well, so it's all about playing percentages. That's why he's played safe.
Well, he should know the tables well. This is his 62nd rack in the tournament. Of the previous 61, he's won 42, lost 19. In comparison, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz lightly raced. He had a bye in the first round. Then he beat Adam Smith 9-3 and João Grillo of Portugal 9-7 in winners' qualification. Chang Yulong was sent to the one-loss side. That's why he's played so many matches.
I think he's got the jump cue in his hand. He's trying to jump over the edge. He could try and thin cut the ball in the pocket. Also, if he can get the cue ball into that little gap that's behind the pink 4, he might try and kick the 4 ball back up to leave some distance. He's in a spot of bother, I know that much. He needs to pull out a good one here. Oh, he's played it exactly how he wanted. He found the gap, Phil. Everything else should take care of itself. He's got to be happy with that.
Might have left the edge here, though, to make the pot available.
You can see there, he doesn't put his chin near the cue. He's quite happy to stand off a little bit. Presume he does that because he feels he sights the ball better. There you see, his chin is nowhere near. Just flick the 6 ball. That means he can't pop the 5 in the side. Doesn't go past the 8. He's going to try and get the cue ball behind the 8 ball. This is thin.
He's already been prominent in one tournament this year, 3rd in the Chinese Taipei Open on home soil. That event eventually won. It was back in January, won by Carlo Biardo. There is a rack on the board already over on table 5. Jason Shaw has taken the opener against Tobias Bongers.
Yeah, looking at the draw, there's a lot of good matches in play. I had a quick chat with Billy Thorpe about 15 minutes ago. He's playing Jeffrey Ignacio. I commentated on Billy's game yesterday when he was playing Imran Majid, and I told him, I thought, it's the best I've ever seen you play, Billy. You're looking in good shape, pal.
Yes, came very close to elimination. Billy Thorpe, he was 8-2 up on Masato Yoshioka on the winner's side, lost 9-8. Then he played Roland Garcia, had to win the last couple of racks to keep his hopes alive, and since then he's been really prospering.
Is he playing the bank? Stop the cue ball. He's had a go. Oh, that's a beauty. That is a beauty. What a shot he's played. Centre of the pocket. It was the cue ball as well. What's the cue ball here? It just stops right in its tracks. You couldn't hit that any sweeter. Tight pockets, Phil. Tight pockets. Just got to be a little bit more accurate, that's all.
They are playable. We saw a clinic yesterday from Chang's fellow countryman, Kopin Yi. With accuracy, they can be coped with.
Watch out, centre pocket. This needs to hold fire. Yeah, he's okay, but that's not the path he wanted. The cue ball would have been a little bit scared when he first hit the cue ball. But it's the first rack on the board. We said Ruiz was going to be put under pressure in this match. He knows Chang Yulong. I'm sure they've played plenty of matches over the years, Phil. I feel this one could go right to the wire.
Indeed, it's a tough draw for the main man in the rankings. Now, the winner of this will take on either Claudio Cacci or Petri Makinen in the next round, and young Cacci has taken the opening rack. Also, drawing first blood, Jonas Suto Camino against Clint Iansen, and Albin Auschen off to a good start against Daniel Massayol. Same thing for Alexa Pachelsch against Carl Naderberg, the man who ended Carl Boyes' tournament. Missing that 9, Carl, in the penultimate rack, I believe.
Are you just here to tell me how many balls I've missed in my career, Phil?
It's one of my jobs.
Well, you just got a glimpse of some of the matches on your screens there, and you can check out the live scores yourself and the draw, and you know who might play who in what round and all that at WNTLivescores.com. Sign up, follow the event. If you're not watching along as well, it can be quite fascinating just looking at the live scores, Phil, can't it, as well?
It really is a fantastic service.
Work to do here, though. Got to play a push. It's an awkward push as well, because wherever you push the cue ball on the table here, you feel like you're leaving the world for your opponent. You feel like you're not really going to get it back. Got to think about this one. Might tempt him into some sort of long pot. Yeah, on these tighter pockets now, rolling out into the jump shot, I feel like you might get a lot more of these shots back. I'd be surprised if Ruiz comes to the table and plays this one, Phil. I really would.
Yes, we've seen an awful lot of instances, as you predicted, Carl. Spot on. We've seen an awful lot of instances where players have pushed out and basically made it too difficult for themselves. And the decision of the incoming player, if you like, is made for them.
Yeah, this is... If you're wondering why he's given this shot back, it's just because it's such a difficult pot. And you're not quite sure where the balls are going to finish. So in this instance, you always feel like jumping at that ball, you're going to be second favourite in the outcome. There's only a few things that can ever actually happen. You pot the ball, you fluke a hook snooker, or maybe you fluke a ball, another ball, and stay at the table. So Ruiz, putting his opponent back in there, has paid off. Doesn't always pay off. But there's something about being a pool player and, you know, playing thousands of racks and thousands of matches and years of tournament play. You just get this little instinct in your brain where you think, nah, carry on, buddy. You can fire at this one.
You play the percentages. Sometimes you might play a hunch, but generally you play the percentages.
Well, it's funny you were going on about that 9-ball I twitched at 6-6 against young Nadenberg, Phil. I don't think you've seen what happened a little earlier on in the rack. I played a couple of safety shots and I had the better of him in that department, in that rack. And he kicked out of it and he left the cue ball on the bottom rail and he left a long 5-ball, but the cue ball was near the 8. And I went for the pot. I shouldn't have gone for the pot. I'd been so patient in the rack, but I thought, listen, I'm at 6-6. I've come out the com box with you. I'm thinking if I knock it in, I'm on the hill. But looking back, I had such an easy safety. I could have split the ball. So decision making at the right times, you know, it's invaluable. I can't stress how much you can make the wrong decision. And I feel like the top players, they always seem to pick off the right shot selection.
By the way, I didn't say you twitched the 9. I just said you missed it.
Well, it was a twitch.
Okay, you said that, not me.
You know, sometimes you feel like you can pot everything, some days you don't. And I think it's important to think, well, if you're not quite feeling up to it, don't be scared of playing 1 or 2 extra safety shots. And then that way it might carve out an easier pot because you've played some good safeties. I think Albin Ocean's very good at things like that. David Al-Qaeda, you know, the players who we would put in our top sort of 8 on tour for the safety side of 9-ball. I feel like they're very patient pool players.
Yes, you're right. How you're feeling comes into it. What might be the right shot one day isn't the right shot the next.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to figure out what type of person and player you are and make them decisions. Talking of decisions, Ruiz has got work to do. I don't know if he can draw into the 2 balls. I think he can. I'm surprised he's not took a little gamble there. The problem with going into the 7 and the 8-ball now is you're not guaranteed a shot on the green 6, as where if you draw down off the 4-ball into the 2 balls, at least the purple 5 is over the pocket. So you feel like you'd be a little bit unlucky. I'm not saying he's going to go into the 2 balls, by the way. That's run a little bit too far, so he's not going to be going into him at ease here. I don't know if he can draw into the balls. Oh, that looks a bit scary. Yeah, I think he's half missed a trick here. Just little things in your brain. One side of you want to play the right shot, and then for some reason, you just change your mind. Elliot Sanderson was playing Lu Rai Teng, who's playing Don Kwok Kwan on table 2 right now. He's 1-0 up. It was Hill yesterday, Phil. I was over there watching it, and Lou missed the ball in the last rack. Elliot got down and played a shot, and it did look like it was the wrong shot selection. And straight away after the match, Elliot said, I can't believe I didn't do this instead. And it's just weird. In the moment, you can just make that slight wrong shot selection. Oh, he's played that well, though, because he's going to play the 3-railer and try and stun run through with the cue ball a little bit to lock the cue ball on the 8. This can make you look foolish, though. It can also make you look like a genius. Needs the 7 ball to travel. He did actually miss-hit that a little bit. A little bit fortunate there, the world number 1. Yeah, he knows. Even though he's happy with the outcome, Phil, he's not happy with the stroke he put on the ball. Well, this could be a highlight reel. Can Chang Yulong pop the 7 ball in the centre pocket? Thorsten Homan's off to a flyer. He's played Skylar Woodward. He's won the opening 2 over on table 6. Thorsten, Phil, he's one of these players who, you know, he's won a lot of the big tournaments. He's a 2-time world 9-ball champion, let's not forget. And I don't want to say he's at the latter stages of his career, but he's at the age of where we're wondering if they, you know, one of these older legends, Hall of Famers of the sport, can they snap one of these events off? And I'll tell you what, that was close.
It really was. As the cue ball was coming across the table, it was not quite obvious what would happen. He just missed the 7 by a whisker.
Yeah, you got Thorsten Homan, we've had Ralph Souquet here, Darren Appleton, Niels Feiern, you know, the Mika Immonen, obviously he's not played in this one. He's had his health issues, but I believe he's doing okay now, so it'd be good to see Mika back at one of these events, and I'm sure we will. It's them players who've won the US Opens, Phil, and the World 9 balls, you know, them 2 big ones. Obviously Ralph's won 6 World Masters as well. You know, can one of them players snap one of these events off? Now the sport has changed. That would be a good story.
Absolutely, there's a great well of support always in any sport for a veteran who does well. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz is not a veteran. He's very much a champion of the present. He's in the prime of his career, and he's back on level terms at 1 rack each. Other scores, Petri Mäkinen 2-1 up on Claudio Cacci after losing the opening rack. Billy Thorpe, you are right, he's in a rich vein of form, great to see, and he's 2-0 up on Jeffrey Ignacio. Same thing for Thorsten Homan over Skylar Woodward, as Carl said. Jonas Suter Camino 2-1 now over Clint Janssen. Liu Riteng 2-0 on Duong Kok Wang. Albin Auschen and Daniel Massiol have shared the first couple of racks. Dennis Grabber from Estonia leads Gary Wilson, the snooker star, 1-0. 2-0 for Jason Shaw over Tobias Bongers. 1-0 for Jeffrey Rodder over Abdullah Al-Yusuf. For Alexa Pachelch over Carl Naderberg as they all go in search of the UK Open trophy plus a first prize of $30,000 US. And Kopin Yi, always one of the favourites to prevail. He's taken the first rack from Jose Alberto Delgado. I'm going to pose you a question at the end of this rack, Carl. I'll give you the question now. Don't answer. Give me your response when the next rack is complete. Who was the most surprising player through to the last 64? That's the question.
Who is the most surprising player through?
I'll let you mull over that as FSR mulls over his break.
There's obviously multiple answers I can give you.
Oh yeah, it's subjective, of course.
Okay, right. I mean, that would, of course, been me if I'd have made it, but I didn't. Maybe I should say Carl Naderberg because he beat me. No, I'm only joking. He's a supreme young talent, that kid. One to watch. He's not got off to the best of starts, though, today, have he? He's got Alexa Pachelch. He's lost the opening 2 there. Let's not forget it's a race to 10 now, though. That always gives you that. You feel like you've got a bit more breathing space.
Talking of young talent, all of the juniors are in the building now for the start of the Jason Shaw Junior Open. So enthusiastic they were practicing very early this morning at the first available opportunity.
You can just see David Al-Kaidi was walking down into the arena in the distance there. Not been the tournament he wanted, so he'll be part of Spain's support team today. He'll settle for that, but I think when Ruiz comes to the table, he'll really fancy playing a good kick shot here. It's actually not easy to get safe looking at it because of the pink 4. The 2 ball comes down towards that area of the table. It's got a chance of hitting the pink 4 or the 9 ball, even the 7 ball. That's if he decides to go off the top rail and play a kick and stick. Yeah, that's what he's coming around to have a look at. So he's trying to visualise where the 2 ball's going to go off that side rail. Such a charming young man, Ruiz. Always got a smile on his face. You know, it doesn't matter who you are or, you know, if he's got a big match on. Oh, has he found the gap? Look at this. Yeah, he's contacted the pink 4, but look at the cue ball. That has turned out unbelievable.
Look at this, the absolutely perfect contact. Welded up to the green 6.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of fortune in that because you're never quite sure you're going to hit it 100% where you want, but it's all about trying to hit that 2 full off the top rail to get the distance, and he knows the 6 ball is a big ball. Yeah, he's been a fantastic world champion. That's Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, representing the world of pool. Probably better than anyone else could on the circuit, if I'm being honest.
You hear people say, oh, he's a really nice guy and all that kind of stuff. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz is one of the nicest people I've ever met in any walk of life. Warm, welcoming disposition. And he'll welcome that.
Yeah, this morning, Phil, I had the pleasure of filming a video with Francisco, and I was asking him, what age did you get into pool? He says he was about 3 or 4 years of age, his first memory. I was blown away by that answer. I can't remember last week. He said his father used to play, so he used to go and watch his father play. He said he weren't a bad pool player himself. And then he fell in love with it. He said he also was a keen tennis player, Francisco. He used to play a lot of junior events, but he decided to stick with the pool. He actually won the World Junior 9-Ball Championships in 2010 at 18 years of age.
Yeah, that's the thing that has gone sort of unnoticed, unmentioned in the last few years, but it is true that at one point in his career, it looked as though he might well be an unfulfilled talent, someone who didn't achieve his potential, but all of that changed from, well, late 2021, but really the big breakthrough year was 2022.
Now, he does have ball in hand here. I'm really surprised he's looking at a 2-9 combo. He was just having a nosy. I'm not saying he was ever going to play it, but he was looking at a 2-9 combo into the side to play a hook at the same time. But you have to look at once you've potted the 2 ball and got there. As long as he gets on the purple 5, maybe it's because of the brown 7. If the brown 7 doesn't go past that 9 ball into the right bottom corner, maybe that's why he was just having a little nosy.
Just thinking, you know, Colin, I might have gate crashed that little piece you did because I walked past the table as you were playing that rack with FSR. And he was standing right next to the barrier as I was walking past, and I said, you better tell Carl he's out. So if that makes the cut, I apologise in advance.
Oh, well, if we have that, we'll definitely put that in the video. Don't worry about that. We love stuff like that on the channel. Yeah, it's always good to be around Francisco. You know, when I asked him if he wanted to shoot a video, he's like, yeah, no problem, 9:15. I mean, he's on at 10. He just doesn't care. He's just so happy to be involved in all of this. Why wouldn't you?
When certain people win world championships, they are ideal as an ambassador. The recent winner of the World Snooker Championship, Kyron Wilson, you know that's going to be the case with him as well. They conduct themselves superbly. Credit to them, credit to the game they play. And FSR is obviously in that bracket as well.
Needs to come with a good shot here, a couple of options. Initial first option, slide down the right. Yeah, with a right-hand spin. That gives himself a look at this 7 ball now. He's got to come with another good shot here, though, because he couldn't get past the potting angle of the ball, which would have made getting on the 8 ball easy. Now, this is a shot you should practice, but I'm not saying it's vanished from the game, but I always feel like this shot used to be played a lot more years ago. Can he stun it in with running right and English? So when it hits the long rail, it goes 3 rails back out into the centre of the table. Looks like it's on. Are we going to see it? Or is he going to try and get into it and draw the cue ball? Yeah, maybe because the cloths in modern era are more responsive. Maybe that's why we're seeing less and less of the stun rail, 3 railer rather.
Lost the first rack, but it looks as though FSR is going to take the lead. Indeed, he does. 2-1. So, Cole, I asked you the question. Most surprising qualifier for the last 64?
I think I'm going to go... I have got a couple in mind, but I'm going to... If I had to pick one, which... that's the question. I'm going to say Nicolas Doha, if I've said his second name correctly. Just because I watched him play Daz, he looked very shaky, a little edgy. The wheels sort of fell off, but he managed to get the victory. And then he beat Moritz Nordhausen, where I thought Moritz was a shoo-in for that match. And I've never seen the name, I've seen him play, so I know what he looks like. I've never seen him. This is the beauty of what the WNT is bringing to the party. There's obviously some very good pool players around the world, so maybe, you know, maybe he's got a full-time job or a family and he's never been able to have a go, Phil. So good to see him out there competing, and that's my pick.
Yep, that would have been mine also. He's unbeaten, and he next plays James Arenas of the Philippines, who again will be a big favourite.
Oh, he has been unfortunate there. Cue ball. I think he got kicked off the side rail at first. Let's have another look. Yeah, I mean, he did lose the cue ball a little bit. He likes to arc it below the 9, but that is unfortunate. Couple of kisses. Cue ball finds the pocket. This could be a quick rack. We've had a few slow racks just because we've seen push-outs and some good safeties. But all in all, Phil, I think at some point we've got to get a shot clock on the main table in these events. Just because players, when you've not got a shot clock, players are just stood there. You sort of get lost in your own mind.
Yes, and I think it's the case that if it's an unrestricted shot clock, like 30 seconds, in my opinion, is pretty unrestricted, it actually does them a favour. It crystallises their thoughts. The more you think, sometimes the more negatively you think. There's a snooker tournament each year called the Shootout, and in that it's basically 10 minutes of action, 1 frame maximum, and the shot clock is, well, for the first 5 minutes 15 seconds, and for the second 5 minutes 10 seconds. Now that is restrictive. That's running around the table. 30 seconds with one timeout per player per rack. That doesn't really change the fabric of the game at all.
Cue ball needs to slow down a bit, otherwise he's going to give himself some work to do. It's okay. Doesn't have to load this up with loads of spin, just a little bit. Quite funny, most of the players from Chinese Taipei still use the wood shafts. Most of the circuit have all gone carbon cues. Look at the Cole brothers and Chang Yulong. They're still playing with wood. Okay, after 4 racks, we are shared at 2 apiece.
So what's been happening on the other tables? Claudio Cacci back in front against Petri Makinen. He's won 3 racks in succession to go 4-2 ahead. Billy Thorpe 3-1 now over Jeffrey Ignacio. 3-0 for Torsten Homan over Skylar Woodward. 4-1 for Jonas Suter Camino against Clint Iansen. What a start for Liu Riteng. 3-0 up on Duong Kwok Wang. Albin Auschen 2-1 over Daniel Masseol. And it's the same score for Dennis Grabber against Gary Wilson. Jason Shaw 2-1 against Tobias Bongers. The best start from Jeffrey Rodder. He's 4-0 up on Abdullah Al Yusuf. Alexa Bashelsh could be a dark horse. He's 2-0 up on Carl Naderberg, and it's 1-1 Copigny and Jose Alberto Delgado.
One ball deposited, no shot on the 2. Yeah, the cue ball took a nasty little kick off that red 3, didn't it? That's why it went up towards the top end of the table. I wonder if you can just see a little edge of the ball, though. It's always difficult for us to tell. We're always guessing a little bit.
I mentioned right at the top of the match call that he won 2 China Opens. That tournament, for many years, was one of the premier events on the calendar.
Yeah, back in the day, when Matchroom Sport only had the 3 events, the Moscone Cup, World Cup of Pool and World Pool Masters, we used to go to China to play the China Open. It was a strange event, though, when I used to play in it. It was in like a big basketball arena, Phil, and we didn't have any table lights. Imagine flying all the way to China to play in the dark.
Wow.
The 1 ball used to be wrapped on the spot. Now the 9 ball is wrapped on the spot. And the difference is when you put the 1 ball on the spot, well, even Phil Yates could break. You just hit the 1 ball, the wing ball goes in the corner pocket. So, well, you can imagine what's going on there. Plenty of break and runs.
And so with no table lights, how dark was it? Was it difficult to pick out the potting angles, Carl?
Yeah, it wasn't easy, but pool players have a knack of finding a way, I suppose. And, I mean, the TV table there was lit up and in a nice arena, but all the other tables, well, needed night vision goggles at times. Deciding to play the safe. May have left the gap here. He's having a look. this is a real classy shot. I like it. He had to put a little bit of left on the cue ball. And just two-rail the 3 up using the 9 and the 7. That was very sporty.
Chang beat Manuel Monteo 9-1 in the first round, but then lost 9-8 to Liu Chen. So on the one-loss side, he had to win 3 matches, and he did so, overcoming Tim de Ruyter 8-0, Christian Sadea 8-4, and then in losers qualification, he had a fine win over Johan Chua, the Filipino World Cup star from last year. He won that 9-5. So more than capable of creating an upset.
Pool players in this situation is trying to figure out the best outcome. So the best route of hitting this 3 ball, which is going to give him the higher % chance to get away with it. He's not just going to get down and whack it. Sometimes whacking it can work, don't get me wrong, but usually when a player gets down and whacks it, they're frustrated with something. Ruiz won't do that. He's trying to plan his escape route. He's trying to get out of jail. So it's the 2-rail kick. In behind it. Is he trying to get cue ball up towards the right side? He was. And he wasn't far away, let me tell you. Often when this happens and you leave your opponent in, when you look back at the replays, if he hits this ball a little bit thinner, it could have worked out quite well. Watch the connection on the red 3. Just a little too thick, that was all.
This tournament has been really kind to Francisco Sanchez Ruiz in its first 2 years of existence. Runner-up in 2022, quarter-finalist last year. But Chang, we know, is going to provide quite a stiff test.
When I walked in the arena at 9 AM this morning, Phil, you were sat down here doing your notes, eating your breakfast, drinking your Coke, as usual. And I spoke to Jason Shaw. The first thing he said to me, he says, "Oh, about time, got a good draw." Feels like he's dropped in a nice little section, does Jason. And I think he means that with the respect, but I think he feels like he's always drawing one of the, you know, the big guns in these last 64 rounds. But I said, listen, Jay, you still got to win, pal. You got to get your head on. Well, table 5, Jason Shaw 2, Tobias Bongers 3. You can't take anyone for granted. Just because it's not a Ruiz or a filler, you know, they're in the last 64, they're playing. And 9-ball can be a bit funny, you know, you can play some good safeties and they kick out and leave you awkward, and you could be losing a match where you feel like you've not done much wrong.
The case here with FSR. Does things very efficiently, does Chang. And now he leads 3-2. What a moment earlier this year for Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. He won the 9-ball open, a 9-ball tour ranking event that's named after him, the FSR 9-ball open, and he won it. His best year, though, was 2022. He won the Derby City Classic 9-ball, runner-up in the UK Open to Joshua Filler. But with David Al-Qaedi, he won the World Cup, he won the US Open, and he was a member of a winning Mosconi Cup team. As for Jason Shaw, Well, things are getting a little more murky because he's 4-2 down to Tobias Bongers.
Yeah, another German player, Tobias Bongers. Germany has always produced some of the best pool players that we've ever seen. This break's gone wrong, so he needs a random ball. He's not got it, but at least he's not left a pot. So he'll go back to his chair, World Chang, and he'll be quite happy with the outcome. That's what you always do as well. That's another pool player trait. When you have a dry break, your eyes can scan the table, Phil, in a matter of seconds, and you know what you've left your opponent. You know if you sat there in trouble, or, you know, if you're not in the worst of positions. Well, Jeffrey Roder, the Filipino, is absolutely flying against Abdullah Al Youssef. 5 racks to 0 for the Filipino. The same can be said for Jonas Suto Camino, another player who I beat a couple of weeks ago, Phil, on this little pretend comeback of mine. He's 6-1 up over Clint Ianson, the English pool player.
Hadn't heard you mention that before, Carl. Only 17 times, I believe it is now.
I knew you was going to come back with something sarky, Phil Yates. You just couldn't resist.
Oh, and you're not sarcastic. You're the king of it.
Seven-time World Snooker Champ, legend Stephen Henry calls me Carl the Truth. That's what he always calls me, Carl the Truth. Always horrible, them shots. I always wonder, the professionals put time in practicing that shot where you jacked up queuing down, because it's a shot that everyone just keeps missing.
It's a really intense tactical battle, this. FSR would love to get this rack on the board and then get that legendary break going.
Yeah, the beauty of 9-ball. When you have a safety rack, it doesn't take long, does it, Phil? I know you do so much snooker commentary over the years. You still do it now. You know, obviously, what's it like when you're commentating on a snooker match where balls go a bit sticky? And obviously 9-ball, I've never done the snooker. Must seem like it goes on for days.
Well, you can get a re-rack, of course, if there's a stalemate situation. We had a match in the World Championship qualifiers recently that one frame took 1 hour 50 minutes, and that's the second lengthiest in history. The lengthiest frame, 2 hours and 3 minutes.
How many times did you fall asleep in that rack, Phil?
Didn't commentate on either thing, thankfully.
He's left it, but he'll be having a nosy to see how straight this is. Well, it's not great for Ruiz, I won't lie, because how to get over for the 2? He's going to have to thump this ball in, and when you're thumping these balls, you've got to get nearer the centre of the pocket now. If you hit the rail first, they're just spitting them back out. As I was saying, Ruiz plays a safety shot, and after one kick attempt, he has a chance for the rack. So safety in 9 balls, usually it can be pretty quick. didn't even attempt to get on this 2-ball. I feel you got to take the bank shot on. There is the bank shot, so Ruiz has a chance now. What's the latest with Jason Shaw, Phil, and Tobias Bongas? Obviously, Shaw was in a small hole early on in that match.
Still 4-2. Make that, as I'm speaking, 5-2 Bongas.
Wow, Tobias Bongas halfway there against Jason Shaw.
The biggest name in UK pool on home soil. He will need a fight back. Remember, Shaw led 2-0.
That's all he could really do. I think he's got to play this with some left spin here and try and hit the 9-ball full. If he crosses into the 9 and then it's the 6, he'll still leave a thin nip on the purple 5. Just feels like nothing's coming easy at the minute, Ruiz. It's a bit of a grind when he's clearing the balls. He's just second-guessing himself a lot as well. He's not in his usual flow mojo, so to speak. Well, so much so, Phil Yates, he didn't even play the pot. Jump shot, pot the ball, spin the cue ball, 3 rails, position on the 5. He should go close to this one, you know, Phil. He'll go close to this. Maybe not that close, but you could see the idea, and the pink 4 is going to come round and land safe.
A couple of times now he's had a jump shot pot into that pocket, and on both occasions caught the object ball too full. Cracking result though. Again, FSR just can't seem to get going, get the chances to build up a head of fluency. Quickly, what about Jeffrey Rodder? 7-0 up on Abdullah Al Yusuf.
Could chase the 8-ball with a cue ball. Just not looking at it, is he? He's playing safe, he's playing thin off it. Hit it. Is he trying to play too conservative? That's what it feels like. He had a chance on the pink 4, a little thin one. We left English, check it up into the 9. Maybe he's just not quite feeling it. There's his World Cup of Pool teammate and the current European Open champion, David Al-Qaidi. I think all the rest of the people who were sat with David, I think they're all Spanish as well. I think some of them have come to play in the amateur event next door, and some have brought the kids to play in the Jason Shaw Junior Open, which is also starting today. It's actually started at the back end of our arena. I believe Kyron Wilson's son has entered. Well, yeah, Ruiz could have chased the 8-ball. I thought he could have played a similar shot. Chang Yulong's attacking the table. Well, it's not paid off there. That is unfortunate. The 4-ball could have gone anywhere. There's another look. That's the vision. Just feels like a slow burn of this match at the minute. We've only played 5 racks, and when we look around the scoreboard, there are a few matches that are of a similar pace, but there's some that are 9 and 10 racks in. Need some help here. Where's the 9-ball?
It's not slow because we're seeing lots of bad pool, though. I think the balls are conspiring against both players to a large degree, and that's why it's going to be difficult, so far at least, to get any kind of rhythm going.
Well, pig 4-9 combo. He's got to hit the 9 quite thin to pot it.
Just a little concerned about the cue ball, but it went wide, caught that middle pocket point and stayed on the table. So, once again, they're all square, 3-3. Quite a lengthy rack that, so while it was going on, plenty happened on the other tables. Petri Makinen 5-4 up on Claudio Cacci. Jeffrey Ignacio, after a slow start, now in front against Billy Thorpe at 4-3. Torsten Homan has lost his first rack against Skylar Woodward, but the German still leads 5-1. It's 6-3 now for Jonas Suter Camino over Clint Jansen. Lu Riteng 4-1 up on Duong Kwok Wang. 3-2 for Albin Auschen over Daniel Masayol. Gary Wilson's fought back against Dennis Grabber to 3-3. Jason Shaw's just got another rack on the board. His deficit now against Tobias Bonga's reduced to 5-3. I told you about Jeffrey Rodder, 7-0 up on Abdullah Al Yusuf. Carl Naderberg, 3-2 up on Alexa Pachelsch. And the slowest match of the lot, surprisingly actually, is Copigny and Jose Alberto Delgado. They've only played 4 racks, and they have been shared. By the way, Carl Boys just showed me a little video clip on his phone of the new World Snooker Champion arriving in Telford with his son to take part in the Jason Shaw Junior Open. When this match is over, my first task will be to go over to Karen Wilson and congratulate him on that Crucible triumph of 4 days ago.
Yeah, I'm just looking in front of us, Phil, actually. There's quite a lot of people looking at the practice area, so I'm wondering if Kyron and his son are in there at the moment. Don't seem to make sense. Ruiz has already had an unlucky scratch on the break, and he's just recorded another one. Back-to-back scratches on the break. He just can't get going, and if you look at the table layout here, this needs to slow down, and it has done. He needs an angle on the purple 5. No angle, or very little angle, is going to be difficult to get on the green 6. He needs to play the green 6 into the same pocket as this purple 5 ball. Where's the cue ball, Phil? It's okay, it's a little low of the side, and that's nice. Knew he had to get over there because he needed this angle to slide past the 6. He wants this to slow down. Cue ball control in cue sports is #1. That makes life easier. Of course, you have to pot the ball, but if your cue ball positioning is on point, your potting becomes easier. Now he's left a little thin one. Just look how far his head is off the cue. He's always done this. He's very much a field player. Kind of pokes his way around the table using these little spins, and he's missed the 6-ball, Phil. This is the moment Ruiz has been waiting for. He's been patient in the opening 6. In the 7th, he has a chance to steal one.
For most of his career, on the overwhelming majority of tables he would have played on, that 6-ball at that pace would have fallen. Not on these. They are brutal.
May go rail first here, Phil. The right-hand side rail. And that will swing the cue ball below that 8-ball. Come back out into the middle of the table. Is he going rail first or into the ball? Yeah, he went rail first. That sends it under. Just not quite at the races at the minute. You want it to be a lot further away from these couple of balls. This will make his cueing a little bit weird now. 2 years ago, Ruiz got to the final where he lost to Joshua Filler, who was leading that final. If you remember, Phil, if you can remember that far back. Filler closed out that final in sublime fashion.
What I remember about that inaugural UK Open was that FSR lost his first match and then was 6-0 down against Ashik Nathwani in his next. Came back to win that and went from strength to strength. And talking about coming back, it looks as though he's going to come back from 3-2 behind to regain the lead at 4-3. And that is a pretty good effort, considering that in racks 4 and what we've just seen, scratched on the break. So, FSR poking his nose in front. Same thing with Petri Makinen against Claudio Cacci. He was 4-2 down, now he's 5-4 up. Billy Thorpe and Jeffrey Ignacio are in a real pitch battle, 4-4. Skylar Woodward has got a foothold against Torsten Homan. It's 5-2 to the German. Jonas Suter Camino, 6-3 over Clint Janssen. Duong Kwok Wang has got a rack on the board against the Uri Teng at 4-1 down. Albin Auschen, you can always rely on him to give 100% and battle so hard. He's 3-2 up on Daniel Massiol. 3-3, Gary Wilson and Dennis Grabber. Tobias Bongas 5-3 up on Jason Shaw. Abdullah Al Yusuf has averted the whitewash against Jeffrey Rodder. It's 7-1. Karl Naderberg 3-2 up now on Alexa Pachelch, the teenager from Estonia, going nicely. And Copigny also 3-2 ahead against Jose Alberto Delgado. Well, that's a bonus of sorts, the white ball remaining on the table.
Yeah, the 9-ball nearly went. It kind of hit that point. Just wondering, is it time for him to swing it across bank here? If he can get the cue ball out the way of the double kiss, he may. He could also bank the 2 into the middle of the table, float the cue ball up to the top rail, use the 9-ball. Yeah, that's the shot he's played. Just keeps leaving these little gaps, doesn't he? He's left another one there. But the way the match has gone, I think he'll be sat in his chair and he'll be delighted to be 4-3 up.
Yes, sometimes the balls make the task difficult and you have to just apply yourself. Doesn't look as though there's a gap between the two balls that are blocking FSR's path, the pink 4 and the black 8. If there is a gap, it's very narrow. Coaxed that in with side, through the gap, that helped as well.
It could not have landed in a worse spot though. Just look at the flick here. Great pot. Because potting this 3 ball in the corner means the cue ball has to go in the right hand side pocket. It can't go anywhere else, Phil, so he can't play the pot.
I think it's fair to say, up to this point, FSR not having the kindest run, even though he's in front. This isn't the style of match he really enjoys, so you've got to respect the way he's approaching this. Showing lots of discipline. And Chang just keeps plugging away.
I'm sure he'll bring the jump cue here because it's not the worst of positions. As long as he gets this cue ball jumping quickly, if it's it quite full, could get the hook behind the 7. He might even split the 2 balls and get distance. There's still a lot of balls on the table.
By the way, the Jason Shaw crisis might be over. He's now level with Tobias Bongers at 5-5.
Yeah, he's used the 7 ball, the pink 4, the 8 ball, big targets. We've seen some nice safety play, haven't we, in the opening 7 racks here.
It's been really intense, pretty much every rack.
into the side. But because it's so thin, it's so difficult to control the cue ball, to get on that pink 4. It's funny how you can be in so many weird positions in 9-ball. So can he control the cue ball, potting this ball thin? He's took a gamble, he's hit it hard, nearly fluked the 9. Well, he's got to be delighted with this. Any shot on the pink 4, you're made up with.
Well, I think on balance he deserves a rub, and that was most certainly a rub.
He's just not quite feeling his 100% self at the minute. Because he's just double checking everything, he's making sure he doesn't do anything silly. Yeah, even like here, he's really looking at the shot, isn't he? Just wants to make sure he's making the right shot choice. Leaving this angle.
Played with check to maximise the distance between cue ball and the green 6. There, played with running English.
He's off again. Going to wipe the cue down. Always wondered why players wipe the cue down when they're wearing a glove. I thought the idea was with a glove is that the cue just always just glides in your hand. 2 rails, cue ball in the centre. Playing for the 8 in the same pocket. This needs to travel. Well, it's a little bit short.
An extra couple of inches on that wide ball there would have made this pot pretty much a certainty. He's still a red-hot favourite to knock it in, of course. But
you can just tell the speed he's played in this match so far. He's up and down a lot. He went to wipe the cue. He's second guessing himself. I get it, I've been there. It's hard to get back out from that though, as well, because you're involved in a match here. Now he's sat in his chair thinking, I should have been 5-3 up with a break. It's 4-4. I think we'll see a timeout. I'll be amazed if we don't see a timeout. It's time for a timeout, I think, Phil.
Yeah, he knows that he should have a 2-rack advantage. Slightly misjudged positional shot from the 7, and then the 8 went astray. There was movement on the shot as well. He was playing it delicately for the 9, of course. Even so, it was a surprise he missed it. Now, Petri Mäkinen has won 5 consecutive racks against Claudio Cacci to lead 7-4. The winner of that match will play either FSR or Chang. Jeffrey Ignacio bouncing back from a slow start against Billy Thorpe. He's 5-4 up. Skylar Woodward putting some heat on Torsten Homan. Homan's lead reduced to 6-3. And Jonas Suto Camino, he's been pegged back the whole way by Clint Jansen. It's 6-6. Liu Riteng 5-2 up on Duong Kok Wang. The same score for Albin Auschen over Daniel Maciol. Gary Wilson got it back to 3-3 with Dennis Grabber, but the Estonian is now 5-3 in front. Tobias Bongas has retaken the lead against Jason Shaw at 6-5. Jeffrey Rodder 8-2 up on Abdullah Al Yusuf. Carl Naderberg 5-2 over Alexa Pachelsch. And in a surprisingly pedestrian affair in terms of the pace of play, Ko Pin Yi 4-2 over Jose Alberto Delgado. By the way, I can tell you, Carl Naderberg now 6-2 on Alexa Pachelsch. So my dark horse finds himself in a spot of bother. There is another round of matches set to begin at 11:30 local time, which is in around 15 minutes. The likes of Nicholas Dorr against James Arenas, Mieszko Fortunski up against Naoki Oi. Hungary's Oliver Szolnoki will take on Dutchman Jan van Leerop. Jack Whelan from the UK faces Ko Ping Chung. Another Brit is up against a giant of the game. Steve Nellis takes on Fedor Gorsht. A couple of Filipinos cross cues, Marvin Assis and Bernie Regalario. And then in the matches in the last 64 scheduled for a 1 o'clock start, it's Robbie Capito against Lo Ho Sum. Two firm friends from Hong Kong. They've grown up together and the draw has pitted them against each other. Anthony Brabin against João Grillo of Portugal. Alvin Anjito, the Indonesian representative, faces Victor Zielinski. Carlo Biardo will face Simon Corral. Anton Raga has to try and tackle Nikos Economopoulos, a Greek who has played in the Mosconi Cup. Joshua Filler will be against Paul Song from Atlanta, Georgia. Georgi Georgiev of Bulgaria, Mickey Kraus, and the round is completed by Oscar Dominguez against Max Lechner. That's our next match here on the main table. Now, talking of the Mosconi Cup, tickets will go on general sale today. When it came to the priority sale, well, we saw a press release this morning saying there's been record-breaking figures, and you can understand why. The big event takes place, Europe against USA this time, for the first time in the Sunshine State in Florida at the Carib Royale Resort in Orlando. It's a 2,500-seater arena. It will be a simply wonderful occasion. And although tickets are still available, they are very limited. The amount of fluency we've seen in this match has been limited, Carl.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a slow burn, to say the least. I think, all in all, I think you've got to just give the edge to Chang at the moment. I know it's tied at 4-4, but he looks the stronger player. He's took a bit more of a gamble in certain situations that haven't quite paid off. Now he's got a thin cut on this one. Very good at them shots. Whenever they're thin, he's very good at judging the spin and trying to get the cue ball where he wants. That's all it's been. Both players just could do with just getting a break and run or two together. Maybe it's running out of position with the cue ball.
That tells us the red 3 ball will pass the 8.
You can see the cue ball spinning. He just put a bit of right bottom English on the cue ball. That just pulls the cue ball up towards the 4 when it hits the rail. Just gets you a little bit closer to your work. Surely we're going to see a break and run here, though. There's been a lot of talk about the 4-inch pocket. Not so much talk about the speed of the table, but I think the tables are running a hair slower this week. I think that's probably what's catching players out more than the pocket. All these pool players have played on all different size pockets over the years, but usually we're so used to super fast equipment. I think the cue ball's just pulling up a little bit quicker, which means certain shots you have to hit harder and thump the cue ball a little more.
Yeah, that's undoubtedly true, but I also think the conditions are very nice indeed. The players savouring them.
It's about adapting, isn't it? That's all it is. You got to adapt. The big names, they're all still going here at the UK Open.
Chang goes ahead again. It was 1-0, it was 3-2, and now it's 5-4. In between racks last time, I finished off the 11:30 matches for you. Some matches at 1 o'clock local time. Pius Labutis against Wu Kunlin. Mustafa Alner takes on Alosha Shab. The defending champion Eklund Kachi has a tough one in Mario He. Masato Yoshioka and To Lian Han in an all-Asian battle. Ivo Arts from Holland will face Tyler Steyer, and the winner of that will take on Bui Trong An or the incomparable Shane Van Boning. We have our first player on the hill, by the way, Jeffrey Rodder, 9-2 up on Abdullah Al Yusuf.
I think if Chang Yulong's going to go on and try and get really deep in this event, he's got to try and figure the break out. I know it was close to 1 ball at the point, but he's going to have to consistently be making that 1 ball for me. He hasn't been doing it. There's the push out. Teasing Chang with this one. He's never going to go for the pot into the top right. Well, saying that, if you look at some of the highlight reels this man's done, he might just go for the top right. He doesn't hold back at times. Is he having a go? He did have a go. You can see why he had a go. If he pots the ball, the cue ball may come past the brown 7 for a shot at the 2. I kind of forgot who was at the table then. Then I remembered Chang Yulong. He's not scared to attack the table. Ruiz is kicking at another ball. Delighted with this. And here comes the cue ball right behind the 9. Taps the table. It's not the shot he played, but he'll take it.
What a battle this has become. Every rack so similar. Touche.
Yeah, he's entitled to his own little role. At the minute, all the balls have got pockets. There's no clusters. They might be in a moment, because kicking at this one ball, you expect other balls to move. Table 5, we've been speaking about that match, haven't we? It's the Jason Shaw match against Tobias Bongas, and Tobias Bongas has got another 2-rack lead, Phil. It's 7-5 over Jason Shaw, so that could be an exciting finish in that match. Good hit, other balls have moved. Oh, he's getting away with things at the minute. He's making mistakes, he's a bit indecisive, but when he's kicking at the ball, he's getting lucky. But that doesn't last forever, Phil. Things can soon change. Miss-hit, wanted to hit thinner. He was trying to hit a little bit lower on the 1. Then the cue ball may have gone behind the pink 4 and 8 ball. So Ruiz, I feel like he just needs to step up the pace a little bit here. Try and play a more natural game. He's not a slow player by any stretch. But that is all brought on because maybe a few shots, he's not quite delivered the cue through the cue ball how he wants. Yeah, he's not happy with this one, Phil, because I don't know if he can pull the cue ball back a little bit for the red 3 in the centre. So now cue ball goes forward, which means potting the red 3, cue ball goes up towards the top of the table, rather.
A shot symptomatic of the match. Nothing is easy. At least he could pot the 2 relatively easily. Had the cue ball stopped maybe a quarter of an inch shorter and been right over the top of the 6, that would have posed even greater problems.
Still a big gap to find here. Yeah, here comes the cue ball. That's pretty good, isn't it?
The first result of the day is in the books. Over on table 24, Jeffrey Rodder of the Philippines has defeated Abdullah Al Yusuf convincingly by 10 racks to 2. So Rodder awaits the winner of Bongas and Shaw.
We have just hit the 1 hour 30 mark of this match, Phil.
Yes, and in 3 pots' time, it could well be that both players are halfway to victory. FSR, though, had a similar layout in the last rack. 7, 8 and 9 looked easy, but the 8 was missed. Tell you what, there was a lot of movement on that 7 ball, a lot of upper body movement, underlining just how nervous he's feeling. Once again, they prove inseparable. It was 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-4, and now it's 5-5. So while they're racking up the balls, let me give you the very latest from around the arena. Petri Mäkinen, 8-6 up on Claudio Cacci. Billy Thorpe and Jeffrey Ignacio, 6 all. Skylar Woodward mounting a real fight back against Torsten Homan. Homan's once wide lead is now only 6-5. Jonas Suter Camino also trying to stave off a fight back from Clint Jansen. Camino 8-7 up. Liu Riteng 5-3 over Duan Kwok Wang. 6-3 for Albin Auschen over Daniel Masséon. And Gary Wilson, he refuses to wave the white flag. He was 5-3 down to Dennis Grabber. He leads 6-5. Nothing doing.
He'll definitely have a go at this little cutback. It's not an easy pot, I'm not saying that, but he knows the cue ball's coming 2 rails for the blue 2 in that left middle pocket. Well, he's an absolute mile away. I think this has just been a case of both players just not quite cueing as good as they can. And it's always difficult to try and turn that around. You always feel like when you get off to that type of start, Phil, the rest of the match is just going to go that way. You've got to kind of fall over the line.
Yes, and when there are a lot of tactics, obviously that blunts the potting skills. Skylar Woodward, by the way, is back on level terms with Torsten Homan, 6-6.
Great shot there. Looks like it'll be a 2-railer off the top rail for Francisco.
Tobias Bonger's 8-5 on Jason Shaw.
Well, that is a very healthy scoreline indeed, because Shaw knows the next 2 or 3 racks are very big, because you've got to keep your opponent off the hill, otherwise you're Well, you're really under the gun. Actually stood up for a little bit here just to stretch the old legs, and I can see Shaw in the distance. Can't see the table, but I can see he's walking around and he's cueing the ball, so he's at the table. Two-rail kick. Well, every time Ruiz has kicked to the ball in this match, he's got away with murder. He really has. I'm not saying it's the biggest fluke I've ever seen, because he's still not won the rack. And it's unlikely he's going to pot the two. But at least he's at the table. Yeah, thin safety. Similar shot coming up for Chang here. Trying to get the cue ball in the area where it is now. Chipping the two ball over to the right side of the table. Surely he's not put it to 5, Phil. He has. I tell you what, he cannot catch a roll in this match at all. Everything he's done where he just needs that little bit of help from the pool gods is going against him. Unbelievable. He even used the 3 ball as a cover ball as well with the blue 2, and the cue ball's come round and flicked the 5 down the rail. Now he's jumping at the 2. Jason Shaw did win that rack. He's still 2 behind. He's losing 8-6 to Bongers. The winner of that match will play Jeffrey Roder, the Filipino. Absolutely destroys Abdullah Al Youssef, 10 racks to 2.
Now this could be trouble. Just what you expected when the 2 ball nestled up to the 3.
Three-rail kick. Needs something to happen. Nobody in the arena would begrudge Chang Yulong getting a little roll.
I think it's been one of those strange matches where, yes, FSR has got away with a lot, but also his opponent, particularly early on, had the same benefit.
Yeah, just nobody can get going. The safeties have been pretty good. Anytime someone's played the kick shot, you feel like they've got away with it. Sometimes this is just the way matches go. You've got to fight till the end. That's what both these players will do.
And I think, Carl, the way things have gone, as you say, with the high-quality safety and it being very close, this might develop into one of the lengthiest matches we've ever seen. on the main table.
Yeah, it's like this shot. He's gone for the bank. He's missed the bank. And he's not really left, you know, an easy pot. But Ruiz could go for the bank himself. He's not looked at that yet. He's looking to see if he can pot the 9 off the 2. I don't believe that shot's on. Surely not.
That shot was on though, and what a peach.
Yeah, playing very conservative is Ruiz, and that one might just be the best of the lot. If he hits it full, he may fluke the 7. But he's missed it.
And Carl by some considerable margin.
Yeah, now ball in hand. You put the cue ball anywhere you want.
Another result for you. Jonas Suto Camino staved off that fight back from Clint Jansen, winning 10-7. With the tighter pockets, this is the kind of shot that has to be struck with precision.
Didn't really want the cue ball that far up though, did he? If he lands just off straight or straight-ish, he could have played the 4, pink 4 past the 8 ball. Must go in this centre pocket. Yeah, actually quite scary when you stood behind them though. They're a lot tighter than you think.
Earlier this week, Billy Thorpe described the middles as impossible after missing one.
Well, he's passed the test of potting it in the tight pocket. Probably wasn't tight, it's just, like I said, it's just in that mojo at the minute. Everything feels difficult. But all that matters is the scoreline and getting the W, getting through to the next round. I don't know how, but somehow the world number one could take a one-rack lead. He should take a one-rack lead.
He's going to lead for the third time in the match. Initially it was 2-1, then it was 4-3, now it is 6-5, but it's the kind of contest you know will have a few more twists. Unlike the match on table 24, which was completed when Jeffrey Rodder overcame Abdullah Al Yusuf 10-2, the first player into the last 32. Thin cut on the 7 ball and a relatively routine 9 to follow. Whenever the Filipinos turn up in numbers, Carl, they always do well in these big tournaments, and this is no exception. Rodder beating Abdullah Al Yusuf 10-2. So the winner of that will play either Jason Shaw or Tobias Bongers. Now remember, Bongers went 8-5 ahead. Well, Shaw showing his mettle. It's now 8-7. Carl Naderberg doubling up on Alexa Pacholch at 8-4. Copigny, he's 7-3 up on Jose Alberto Delgado. Gary Wilson now prospering against Dennis Grabber. Wilson, the Welsh and Scottish Open champion on the snooker circuit this season. He now leads Dennis Grabber 9-6 on the hill. Liu Riteng 6-4 over Duong Kwok Kwang. Torsten Homan 7-6 over Skylar Woodward. 8-6 now for Jeffrey Ignacio against Billy Thorpe. And Petri Makinen on the hill against Claudio Cacci at 9-7. Makinen or Cacci will play either FSR or Chang Yulong. As we fully expected, Carl, some keenly contested pool underway out there.
Yeah, the last 64 and the last 32 of the Open events always spring up this type of drama. There's always matches that are, you know, quite one-sided, and then there's always going to be matches where there's going to be a flock of crowd heading over to a particular table because you know it's going close.
Well, of course, tomorrow, Sky Sports start their weekend coverage of this event. We have the last 16 in the quarterfinals. The big change is that the shot clock then comes in for all matches. 30-second shot clock it is, with one timeout per player per rack. These race to 10s will now be in place all the way through until the semi-finals. Then it becomes a race to 11, and the final on Sunday night beginning at 6:30 local time. That's a race to 13. Also taking place over the next few days, the Jason Shaw Junior Open. Always a fascinating watch that, to see the youngsters in action. They just love it, don't they? Whether we have the FSR Junior Open when we're in Spain, or Jason Shaw's here, Shane Van Boning's at the US Open. It's always good to see the next generation of the game.
Well, just in front of us, Phil, Gary Wilson has just beaten Dennis Grabe 10 racks to 6. So snooker player Gary Wilson match is on through to the final 32.
That really is impressive, because to get here he beat David Al-Kaidi. Wilson will now play Albin Auschen or Daniel Massayol. Auschen 7-4 up. Wilson is very skilled, of course. When it comes to 9-ball pool, he's got a lot of experience now. But I think the thing that carries him through the most, he just loves it.
Yeah, well, this match on table 1 is underway. This was the break-off. And that's better. You know, we've seen a few breaks where we've been dry, and obviously the 1 ball that players are trying to put in that side have not been going in, and just shows you if you're breaking good and you are putting that 1 ball, Phil, and the cue ball's coming off parallel, you do get opportunities. This is an opportunity for Ruiz. I am not saying it's easy, but if he puts the 2 ball and gets the cue ball in the middle of the table, he could play a 3-9 combo. So this could be a very quick rack coming up. Okay, here we go. He's a big favourite to make this ball. It's quite straight, the 3 onto the 9. Just wondering what he's going to do with the cue ball as well. Will he just put everything into the combo, or will he try and get the cue ball up towards purple 5 just in case?
Not clean, but in. And for the first time, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz enjoys a 2-rack lead. It's 7-5 now. On the hill, Jeffrey Ignacio, 9-6 over Billy Thorpe, who made a very quick start. Also making a quick start, Torsten Homan, but he's been hauled back. It's 7-7 against Skylar Woodward. Liu Riteng, 7-4 over Duan Kwok Wang. The same score between Albin Auschen and Daniel Massayol. The winner of the match we're watching will take on Petri Mäkinen or Claudio Cacci in the next round. Mäkinen still waiting to gain the rack he needs for victory. He's leading 9-7. Confirmation, the Wilson win over Dennis Grabber is official at 10-6. Carl Naderberg on the hill, 9-5 over Alexa Pachelsch. Kopin Yi, 7-4 over Jose Alberto Delgado. And just starting out, the surprise package, Nicholas Doer against James Aranas.
I wonder if Ruiz is going to be tempted into taking on a long pot at some point. He isn't. He isn't. He's gone wrong. Listen, at some point you've got to attack the table. You know, unless you've got an obvious wired safety where you feel like your opponent's not going to hit the ball, you know, let's start taking some pots on.
The winner will play Petri Mäkinen, who has beaten Claudio Cacci 10-7. Gary Wilson's just approaching the commentary table with a big smile on his face.
He's always smiling. Well, not always, but certainly smiling at the moment. That's ideal. Well, the other feature match today on table 2 between Dong Kwok Kwang and Lu Riteng, that's not exactly been any quicker. That's only at 7-4 to Lu Riteng. So Dong Kwok Kwang has got it all to do over there. You can watch that match if you want on Matchroom Multisport YouTube channel.
The 6-ball rattles. FSR delighted to get back to the table, because his decision to be defensive a little earlier in the rack looked as though it might have backfired.
Just wondering if he'll play this ball quite slow, hoping he pots it and then plays the 7 long. Well, it looks like he's playing this hard. A little surprising. Wow, look at the cue ball there. I don't believe he's played that. I think he was trying to pot it and just get out somewhere in the middle of the table, but he sort of bounced out and just stopped dead. Watch the cue ball here.
Well, perhaps just as well we didn't have a 30-second shot clock, because the spin might not have got off that ball in 30 seconds. It was going around like a spinning top. Still, a tough assignment on the 7.
I've played a lot of 9-ball pool. I've played on every table that has been put out there. On a club table, he'd have potted this ball now. On here, he's had to bear down because he knows, well, even that, it looked clean all the way to me, and it still took a little wobble to fall in. What a big moment, this rack. That man there, Chang Yulong, well, he's played a good set, to be fair. It's been one of them types of sets where it's been a grind. But is Ruiz starting to put the nail in the coffin?
There is now significant daylight between them. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz leads Chang Yulong by 8 racks to 5. 2 more needed for progress. Advancing into the last 32, over on table 4 a few moments ago, Carl Naderberg, the youngster from Estonia, defeating Alexa Pashalsh 10-5. Kopin Yi 7-5 up on Jose Alberto Delgado. Now Tobias Bongas on the hill against Jason Shaw at 9-7. Albin Aushin 7-4 still on Daniel Maciel. 7-5 for Liu Riteng over Duong Kwa Kwang. Skylar Woodward for the first time has hit the front against Torsten Homan at 8-7. And a little further on down, Anton Raga and Nikos Economopoulos have shared the first 2 racks. James Arenas, big favourite to win his match against Nicholas Doer, and he's won the opener.
Well, we're just approaching 2 hours this match on TV table, and it's 8-5 to Ruiz. Was Skylar Woodward about 5 racks down filling that match against Thorsten Homan?
Homan got off to a very, very quick start, I know that.
Well, at last, a shot on the lowest ball for Ruiz. The beauty about these multi-table setups, Phil, is, you know, once these matches come to an end and it's time for us to sit out, we can get out there and watch the end of the matches. I'm itching to get over to the shore table.
Well, I can tell you another result. Jeffrey Ignacio, he's beaten Billy Thorpe 10-6. Thorpe was another one who had the better of the early exchanges.
Well, there's quite a few spectators around the Jason Shaw table, Phil. Bongers is at the table. It's too far away for me to see how many balls are left and what's the situation, but Bongers is definitely at the table, and Shaw is sat in his seat. Bongers only needs one more.
And if he pots these next 4 balls, FSR will only need one more on here. And you know, even though they are there, even though he's the world #1 and the world champion, I'm not completely discounting a mistake. He looks really nervous to me.
A lot of movement. He's always kind of done that. It's not an unusual thing. He's always had that little bit of movement.
And it doesn't matter how nervous he is, he's not going to miss this. Bear in mind, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz was 5-4 behind. Now he leads 9-5. 5 on the trot. Doesn't feel that way, does it? Doesn't feel as though he's dominating. But scoreboard-wise, he most certainly is. Louis Tang, 8-5 up on recent Scottish Open winner Duong Kok Wang. Albin Aushin's lead over Daniel Masseol trimmed to 7-5. Kopin Yi, he's in a real battle with Jose Alberto Delgado, but getting his own way right now, he leads 8-5. That's on table 3. On table 17, James Arenas sprinting into a 3-0 lead over Nicolas Doa. 2-0 for Marvin Assis over his fellow Filipino, Bernie Regalario. Anton Raga of the Philippines, 2-1 up on Nikos Economopoulos.
Good to see Nikos back. Good old friend of mine, the Greek. Played in a Mosconi Cup with Nikos in 2014 in Blackpool. Owns a pool hall in Greece, does Nikos. It's called Hill Hill.
And that's very appropriate because FSR's on the hill. He broke pretty efficiently there. The 1 and 2 went in, but look at the 3. Refusing to play ball.
Yeah, Tobias Bongers is still at the table. It looks like he's been walking around the table for about 10 minutes, so he must be getting close to the winning line, Phil. There can't be many balls left on the table to record such a big win over eagle-eyed Jason Shaw, and he's done it. He lets off a big cheer. Jason Shaw is out of the UK Open.
Tobias Bongers will play Jeffrey Rodder next. Jason Shaw, the great hope for a home soil triumph, departs.
That one's going to hurt. You know, you battle through your 256 to your 64. You feel like you're in the tournament. And then you fall at the very first hurdle.
You were talking about this earlier, Carl. On paper, it looked like a pretty favourable draw. But that old sporting cliche, pool is not played on paper.
Correct, Phil. You've still got to get the job done. You never quite know how a match is going to start. Sometimes it goes your way and you can steamroll an opponent. Other times, well, you can just be battling away. A little bit like this one. The scoreline's flattering for Ruiz, believe me. This match was 5-5 at one point. Ruiz has not played well at all.
Well, Chang led 5-4. So, I agree with you. It is flattering. It's not been a characteristic FSR performance.
That was a classy move. That would have been very scary attempting that. But it's been this department of the game where Ruiz has been getting away with quite a fair bit when he's been kicking at the ball. That was played though. It was definitely played. He hasn't got cover, but he played it down the bottom end of the table. Chang can cut this ball in. He can also play a two-rail safe. This is a scary shot, this. I think he can cut this ball in, Phil. Into the bottom right. It's tight past the 9 ball. But if he pots it, you feel he's guaranteed a shot on the pink 4. I think he's got to go for this one. Yeah, it looks like he's aiming for it. These are not easy when you've been struggling though. Can't stress how thin these pots are on a pool table. And it's pretty much the full distance of the pool table as well.
Yes, and also when you've been involved in disjointed exchanges for now 2¼ hours. Needed cover, and the brown supplies it.
Yeah, when I was talking to Francisco this morning, I asked him about his safety game. He said he's worked so hard on it. He said when he was a bit younger, he was all-out attack, going for all the shots, and he felt his safety game used to let him down, and the legend Jeremy Jones picked up on that a few tournaments ago. He said his safety players has improved so much. Chang's in a spot here, isn't he? He's 9-5 down. He needs the last 5 racks and he's kicking at a red 3 ball. I think he's trying to pot it. He is trying to pot it. Left English on the ball. Pot it in the bottom corner. Good hit. Needs a bit of luck. He hasn't got it. This is a chance for Ruiz, the world #1, to book a spot in that last 32, where Petri Mäkinen is waiting. That was a good win over Claudio Cacci, wasn't it, Phil, for Petri? Good to see Petri back where he belongs.
Yeah, he's a really good breaker of the balls, is Petri Mäkinen. Same with FSR. Today, though, it's been more about defence than attack. Can he put the finishing touches to what would be a quintessentially hard-fought victory, even though, if he were to clear here, it would be 10-5, and on the face of it, comfortable. Not in reality.
Yeah, but also to win a pool tournament of this magnitude, 6 days of action, nobody, you know, steamrolls every opponent. You just don't do it. So you've got to go through these type of matches. Sometimes you win easy, sometimes it's a grind. It's about playing your B and your C game. All that matters is you get to 10 and your name's in the hat for the next round.
Just applying some side to widen the angle of the cue ball off the longer rail and get on the 6.
Phil, I believe Barry Earn is in the building. Let's hope he's watching a lot of these pool matches, because he's going to be playing in the US Open. What about that?
He's bound to be on a TV table, isn't he?
Hopefully centre court against Earl the Pearl. Can you imagine the news? Earl the Pearl versus Barry Earn, centre court. He does have a little bit of angle. He can force the cue ball over. Back down for the 9 ball. I can see it now. Baza to break first. Makes a golden break.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm commentating on Barry Hearn, there'll be no criticism from me whatsoever. And you can't criticise that. He wasn't at his best, but he never stopped fighting, he never stopped competing, and his discipline remained intact throughout. He was a little lucky at times, there's no doubt about that, but Francisco Sanchez Ruiz comes through by a score of 10 racks to 5. He will play Petri Mäkinen of Finland in the last 32. As for our next contest here on Table 1, it is Europe against the USA. 2 Mosconi Cup contenders from Austria, Max Lechner against Oscar Dominguez.